Anthony Ramos from GLAAD here, and welcome to our Pride Roundtable with Fox. I'm so excited to be here to talk with some of my favorite people in the entertainment industry about representation and diversity in Hollywood. You know, this topic is talked about a lot, but there is still so much work that we need to do. And I'm really excited that Fox is launching a new campaign called TV for All, which is going to highlight the importance of diversity and entertainment and celebrate and promote inclusivity. So let's get this conversation started. I'm so excited to welcome this group. First up, you have seen him on 911 Lone Star and the L Word. Give it up for Brian Michael Smith. Next, we have Alexandra Gray, the amazing actress. You've seen her on Empire and Transparent. And then the multi-talented star of stage and screen, Peppermint. Hello, how are you? And we have another star from 911 Lone Star, Rafael Silva. And then lastly, but not least, a dear friend of mine and my coworker at GLAAD. He is our Associate Director of Transgender Representation, Alex SCHMIDER. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Okay, well, you know,
great.
Pride, you know, I want to get started. I want to talk about what we're all talking about. Pride is looking different right now. You know, Pride began as a protest. Peppermint, I want to start with you. How are you feeling in, you know, it is Pride Month. We are in the middle of major change happening, you know, for racial inequality to finally stop. Tell me, for you, because, you know, you are someone who is just as talented as an actress, but also as an activist and has worked with GLAAD so many times. So what's your take on where we're at right now and what's going on?
Coming through this pandemic a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, it was apparent to me that we were, we were clearly in a time of a moment of big change globally. Like the entire earth kind of stopped in its tracks because of the pandemic of COVID-19. And we were all forced, obviously, to stay inside for safety. And then we were forced to connect with each other in a way that I think we hadn't really utilized the internet and social media before. And so I was wondering, what is this for? Is just going to change how we communicate and what we're doing and just keeping us inside, just, you know, just for our safety. But it seems clear that it was going to change. We were building sort of a conduit to change the way we thought and did do things, sort of a paradigm shift on everything forever. And at first I thought that was only related to the pandemic. But then I realized it was creating a conduit, a tunnel for us to pass new ideas about race and gender and everything through that hadn't really broken through before the way that they are now. And contrary to popular belief, I have not been around for every single movement, but I've been around long enough to see lots of these ideas try to get through. And in certain ways here and there, we've had some change, some minor reforms, some policies that were introduced or proposed, some words that were banned, but we never really had the type of revolutionary, radical change. And it stemmed from the murder and killing and murder of Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd, but that's how it was sparked. But now we're talking about not only police reform and defunding the police, but now we're looking at other industries. We're looking at Broadway and stage and film and television and movies and the science, the field of science, and every single industry is being completely changed. I feel like we are on the precipice of so much change that it's irreversible. Even if we stop today, which we won't, we would have come too far to go back.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Brian Michael, I want to hop over to you. You know, are a Black trans actor on a major primetime TV show, you know, just in this era, you know, where we are having so many important conversations, fighting for change. You know, what has it been like for you to kind of just experience this, you know, especially, you know, it being Pride Month now?
Yeah, no, for me, it's been monumental on a personal level, and it's sort of monumental on like what I feel like is a collective level in terms of the impact it's having on people. I've had people reach out to me, parents of trans youth, trans people themselves, people who have been out for a long time, people who have been closeted for a long time, and just letting me know how much it means to them to have the kind of representation that my character has brought to television, to be brought by a person of actual trans experience. And like, I mean, that resonates for me as well, as someone who grew up not even knowing that there were other people like me, period. And then as someone who also grew up just loving and watching countless hours of TV and film, and wanting to be that, but then feeling like, that's not possible for someone like me. That was something I had to kind of overcome in my youth. And then to go from just thinking maybe I'll only be able to do like some background work, or maybe if I act, I'll have to be afraid that at some point I'm going to be outed and, I'll lose everything that I worked so hard for. And, I'll face violence because, of who I am if it's discovered. So going from that mindset, as a young person, into seeing better representations of real, actual trans experiences. Like I think the first time I really felt that connection was watching Laverne Cox on Orange is the New Black. And, it's like, okay, so they can tell our stories in a way that has truth to it, that has authenticity and has the sort of healing that I've seen in other representations, right? And so, once I saw that was possible, it's like, then that's what I want to do, because I feel like that's what I've gone through in my life, and acquired the skills that I have. And this is why I was sort of given this particular talent. Like, I've always felt like a storyteller. I've always felt like an entertainer, but I didn't know why. And I felt like as I started to kind of take the steps down the journey and kind of break into acting, I realized, well, this is why, because I'm bringing something that not many other people have seen and that a lot of people need to see. So I'm like incredibly grateful, for the opportunity to do it, and to do it in such a large scale. Film, it's one thing, but television, it's in your living room, it's in your audience. So to be able to bring in your home, so to able to bring that sort of representation into the homes of people who may not even know that they know someone trans, and they can relate to that character, I feel like it's going to change the way that they relate to people in real life, and change the way that they respond to news about legislation or news about what's happening to other people. It's going to now start to feel personal, and I'm really happy to be a part of that.
Well, I could not agree with you more. Thank you so much for sharing. Alexandra, I want to jump over to you. We've been talking, and I feel like you just, even in a year, like you kind of exploded and taken over TV. Obviously, Empire, How to Get Away with Murder, Transparent, so much. What was it? I want to go back to, what was it like before you kind of had that breakthrough for you? What were some of the things that people told you, before you kind of started to like get this momentum, and before we saw you, before we got to see you get all of these great parts?
Yeah, it was a period where it was just like super dark and just depressing. I hated the person that I was becoming. I was becoming so bitter and depressed that it's a really tough business, and especially for actors of color and queer actors, especially trans. And so before that, it was just so dark. I was ready to give up, and it just seemed like there was no hope. I wasn't doing any auditions. I wasn't getting into the rooms. It was just really tough. But I think it was just someone taught me two words, and it was grace and gratitude. And the minute that I started to embrace those two words, it was like my whole mindset started to shift. And then I started to see that shift in my career, because, I think that you have to just have a positive mindset with this. And I think if you look at it, I stopped looking at it as, oh, I'm being rejected, or, they're not choosing me. And I started looking at it as, this is just a blessing. This is setting you up for the next thing that is meant for you. Right. And, you just never know how that can impact. And I think that what I'm doing now on Empire is like, it's a predominantly African-American cast. And, for me to be a Black trans woman in the center of this, going straight towards their core audience, I think that, that in itself is making such a change and such a difference to those people, like Brian said, who may have never seen a trans person, let alone a trans woman of color, who's gorgeous and can sing.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You know, that's what's so special about what we get to do, is that we get to show you that we are talented. We are all different, you know, and we're really no different than anyone else.
Absolutely. It's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Rafael, let's go over to you. You know, you are in the Ryan Murphy universe now. You're on 911 Lone Star. You know, obviously Ryan is someone that makes it top priority to be inclusive and diverse and have opportunities for people. So as we, you know, celebrate these achievements, especially on television, I'd just like to ask you, what does pride mean to you?
Right. I think in order to analyze that, I think I personally just need to recognize people that came before me and fought for me, directly and indirectly, for me to be here. I would not be here if it weren't for the lives that were literally sacrificed for us to be here, for the voices that spoke louder than rejection, for people that took no after no after no after no and then just turned yeses. Other people's perseverance, I thrive on. That's the platform that I'm standing on right now, and that should be recognized, right? That's I think that, you know, in this quarantine time, self-reflection has been a word that's been thrown around. And that's been utilized in order to justify just being with oneself. But I think self-education is extremely necessary, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement, Pride Month. We need to recognize and learn about those that have come before us, that allow us to take the stand that we currently do. So pride for me is the recognition of everyone. May I know them, not know them personally. Perhaps we'll never meet because they have passed. And all of the people that I you know, you read everything that happened at Stonewall, at the plague, that's now known as the, you know, AIDS, and everyone who suffered for me as a young person, as a young actor of, you know, Latinx, gay, out, for me to be having this conversation with you right now. So a recognition of those who fought for us prior. And, you know, talking about Ryan Murphy, I watched many interviews with him because I truly admire him and everything that he stands for. And, you know, he once spoke about, like, I wanted to make television for all of those who have been oppressed. Right. So, pride for me is also the kindness that comes with embracing everyone that comes along in that LGBTQIA plus community. And, you know, that also requires, from my point of view, I think the LGBTQIA community, we do a great job in advocating for ourselves. But I think that even as we request for change outside of our own community, there's still progress that we need to make within our own community. I find that, you know, racism is still a thing in our own community. Transphobia is still a thing in our own community. Who are we to tell others to accept us if we don't accept ourselves fully? And we need to take responsibility. So, pride is it's calling people out, calling people in, bringing into the light, self-education, and celebrate who you are.
Absolutely. And, you know, I want to remind everyone out there, Pride is fun. It is a party. I mean, it's going to be different this year, but Pride is also about learning. It's about educating yourself. It's about hearing about the people that came before. So I hope all of you, you know, especially as we're all in quarantine, will take that time to, you know, open a book, read an article, learn about those that, you know, really fought the good fight, you know, before for all of us. All right, I'm going to go to my buddy Alex, my GLAAD coworker. Alex, I just, you know, your work as Associate Director of Transgender Media and Representation at GLAAD, you know, you have worked with, you know, Brian, Alexandra, Peppermint. You know, I just would love to hear from you. I mean, we are seeing these opportunities for trans actors and people to, be leading people and have interesting and have their amazing stories told. Just give me a little bit of where you think we're at in terms of, the achievements in Hollywood. I know that we still have work to do, but, you know better than anyone, to talk on this.
I want to add on to sort of what everyone has said, that we are on the precipice of change. We're at a moment of reflection and reckoning as a country. And I think we are at a moment of progress because there are so many amazing, talented people finally getting and earning the opportunities that they deserve to gain the platform that they have to share their talents with the world. And I think one of the things that Rafael was mentioning about learning our history, self-educating, becoming better as a community is so much a part of what Pride can be and what media representation must be. There's a documentary that's coming out soon by director Sam Fader, executive produced by Laverne Cox, features some of these beautiful people on the screen with me here that looks at the history of transgender representation in Hollywood over the past 100 years and why it's so important to look at that in the moment that we're in is because media, for most of the public, teaches us how to think about ourselves. And so in this moment of time, when we are supporting the Black community, we must be looking at how media representation has dehumanized communities of color, trans people, LGBTQ people, all these different underrepresented communities, and really looking at those representations and holding ourselves and industries accountable, and having these conversations so that we can improve, and we have to improve going forward, because we know that storytelling shifts and changes culture.
100%. Peppermint, I want to go back up to you. As we, with Black Lives Matter and this change that we're all fighting for, I think we've all realized that feelings and words are not enough. We need action. So I just would love for you to talk about that. What can people do? What must people do? Anyone who's out there watching, because it's not enough anymore just to say, I support. You need to actually do it.
What can people do?
Yes.
More. Whatever you're doing, do more. That's it. Whatever you're doing, do more. Learn more, talk more, have more conversations, go out and march more, do more. If you passed a law 10 years ago, guess what? Pass another one. If you voted already, vote again and vote more. If you've done all the research, do more. Be more active. Just do more. That's what they can do.
Absolutely. Brian, Michael. Oh, go ahead, Alexandra, please.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that's what's so important, which is why I am so proud to see people really speaking up and holding, companies accountable, holding, the Broadway community, holding all these entities accountable, because at the end of the day, it's like, are you casting people of color? Are you casting queer actors? Are you hiring people behind the scenes? You know what I mean? It's like all of this stuff is so important because this controls how people see the world. And when they don't see us, enough of us, I think that does not help, right? And so, that can never, equate to getting out and voting, marching, doing any of that stuff, which is so very important. But if people are wondering, if companies are wondering, what can we do? Make the donations, but at the same time, put Black people in your magazines, put Black people in your commercials, hire Black directors and cinematographers. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's like.
But I think unfortunately, not to interrupt you, but I think it's exactly that. And the problem is these systems, these industries are not very good at really self-policing, self-evaluating. They are only able to be, by the way that our model, our economic model, the business models that we have, they're only interested, their only thing that they're able to see is finished product and result and GDP. They're just able to see money and the final result. And so really for them, the answer is, let's jump over all of the things that the ingredients that it really takes to be authentic, and let's just show a sticker of authenticity. Slap it on, post the picture on Instagram, hurry up, use the hashtag. What is it? Post it. Okay, we did it. And so it's really all about that superficial thing. So just hiring, a lot of the companies have hired the Black person. A lot of companies have put up the hashtag yesterday, but we really do need them to, and unfortunately, I think it has to, we've been waiting for it to come from the top down. I think it needs to come from the bottom up. It needs to come from all of us saying, okay, we saw the cops, now we're coming for Broadway, and now we're coming for this studio, and now we're coming for this, and we're going for agency, and we're going for every single agency, every single company, corporation. We have to like completely dismantle them and put them back together again. And they're not going to voluntarily do that. Or we'll give them the chance to voluntarily do that. I sound like I'm inciting violence, but I'm just saying it's important that we change them in a completely different way, and we can't leave it up for them to do it.
Alex, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to add to both of what Alexandra and Peppermint were saying too, in that the best art, the best works, the best culture is created when it is truly authentic. And that means empowering and redistributing resources to people in order to tell their own stories, in order to create, in order to find that platform to share themselves and their experiences for a wider audience of people. And so I agree with both of them completely. There must be a recognition of where people are elevated into positions, not just of power, but influence in the stories that we tell. Because I think what needs to really shift and happen is, people not just speaking on behalf of communities. If it's there's a great quote that the disability community uses: "Nothing about us without us." There cannot be anything about us without us, and that means on every different level, in every different means of representation, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, all throughout.
You don't have to be an activist or consider yourself an activist to be a part of this. I mean, there have been people whose jobs have been and have committed their lives to creating the kinds of change that we are seeing now. They've already sort of built the framework. They've come up with the solution. So you don't have to feel like you're an expert in something to contribute. And, if you are someone who doesn't like large crowds, so you don't feel comfortable going out to protest, you don't have to protest that way. You can just have a difficult conversation with people in your family. You can check one of your friends when they say something that's problematic. You can educate yourself and then share the resources with people, because things are coming on your timeline that may not be coming on someone else in your network's timeline. And if you share that with your not necessarily like your opinion, but like what that has meant to you, that can have a lot of impact. If you have a particular talent, you can use that talent to bring attention or to bring a story or to create a path for somebody who is of a particular experience that you are not, to come in and amplify that. So if you have something, if you have a position, or if you have an idea, you can bring someone on who is disenfranchised, and you can elevate them, or you can amplify their voice, you can amplify their story, and you can step out of the way if you feel like that's not your place to sort of speak. So there's hundreds and millions of different ways that you can be a part of this, that you can step up, And so, I mean, even when it comes to the industry, like you see people who know that they've held positions of power for a long time step down and say, I want this showrunner to be a black showrunner. I want this to be an LGBT showrunner. And they're recognizing that, hey, I've been gatekept throughout my journey in this industry. So I am now going to, step out of the way, and I'm going to open some gates for other people. I'm going to put some people who have access to resources, to stories that I'm not even plugged into. So if you are someone who is cisgender, if you're somebody who's white, and you're like, well, where do we find the voices of, black, queer femme writers and actors and whatnot? If you don't know, somebody does. So you can step out of the way and reach out to somebody else in that network and allow that to happen. So you don't have to be the expert. You don't have to have the skills. There are plenty of people around you who do. Just reach out and step back.
Absolutely. Rafael, I know you said you're kind of newer to this. I think, obviously coming out in Hollywood it's very different today. I mean, it's different. It's not very different than it once was. Right. I just am curious, for you as an actor, early on in your career, did you feel any pressure to not, reveal, your queer identity, or like, just what was that like? Because I know still, it's like, we know that at GLAAD, when we see people like yourself, say, I am gay, I am lesbian, I am trans, it reaches people and it inspires people to, live their own truth. So did you have anyone ever say to you, like, don't reveal that side of you?
Right. Well, I came from a country where, machismo is very much ingrained in the culture. I was born and raised in Brazil. I moved to the United States when I was 13. So I think in many ways, just by living in a place where that type of behavior is praised and is seen as strong, and as a child, certain things are ingrained in you, right? I came out when I was 19. And it was immediately after college, and I really didn't know what I was doing when I came out. I just needed to get this thing off my chest. But still, coping with, just having come out and going to New York City, the shame was always there. Yeah, I mean, the shame was always there simply because I lived through it in my most, it's the most important formative years of one's life. It's the very beginning. So have I felt the need to conform to a certain type of behavior? Absolutely. Still do, all the time. But what I do with that is just bringing up the recognition that, I'm feeling this way, and I don't have to. I can own up. I can say the things that I want to say. And if that sounds gay, nice, good. That's the point. It's because I feel like I don't feel like it's just a fact. As soon as you own up to the thing that you feel, that you are, at least in this lifetime, power is bound to happen. Light is bound to happen. And you can't control that and how that will affect other people. So when you think you're doing, you might be doing a disservice to yourself. You probably are by, putting when you're blocking that light. But when you let that light shine and you're just yourself, you don't know how that's going to impact other people. And the point is not to is when you help yourself, when you take care of yourself and you find that power for yourself, you allow other people to find that power within you. And just like Black Lives Matter, for me, the Black Lives Matter movement is I was not expecting this, but it's helping me take ownership of everything that I feel and I have felt as an immigrant, as Latinx, as a gay male in this industry, outside of this industry. So when you see other people fighting for for literally their lives, you can't help but also want to fight for your own life, and consequently, naturally, fight for others too. Long answer to your question.
No, thank you so much for sharing. As we begin to wrap up, and we are celebrating Pride, I want to talk about some of our proudest moments. Alexandra, I mean, like I said, you have been on this whirlwind, really killing it, especially in the TV space. I mean, you're singing, you're acting. What are you most proud of your career so far?
I just wanted to quickly say, just based off of what Rafael said, is that yes, I think since this whole pandemic has started, I think for me, I've noticed a shift in myself as well, to where I think this week was the first time that I really declared my transness, like on social media. Like I don't ever remember a post where I was like, I am a Black trans woman. Like I just don't ever remember doing that. And I think maybe there was some fear there. like, oh, there are cis people that follow me, or, you know, I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, like just really stupid. And I just am I hate what's happening in the world, but I love it because it's really, I mean, it's forcing people. It's like no one cares. Like, it's like if you want to sing on a live video, do it. Like, if you want to go out and march, do it. Like, we don't control this world. Like, we're in the middle of the largest pandemic ever, and we're not in control of it. So it's like, why would you spend every day of your life in fear or hiding? So it's really made me step out of myself and really declare, just like, I am who I am. I am here to stay. But I think that, you know, I'm just most proud to be here. I'm just most proud because, you know, like somebody did not make it. One of my trans sisters did not make it. You know, they were murdered, like, and I'm still here. And so I'm most proud of that. And I'm most proud that I'm getting the opportunity, I hope, to tell stories and to hopefully show people, you know, exactly who Black trans women are. You know what I mean? And just be at that representation to tell them that we're deserving of love and we're deserving of everything that you are. So I'm just proud that I've been chosen, you know, a few times to just be like, hey, we think that you're special enough to do this and tell this story. And I just hope that it's making some sort of difference. So
it absolutely is. Peppermint, for you, you know, what are you most proud of so far? I mean, there's so many things to be proud of that you've done, but, you know, is there something specific that, you know, you think of, you know, especially, you know, as we look back at, you know, during Pride Month and all of these achievements?
I rarely have this chance, or I rarely take the chance to, or it rarely occurs to me, kind of like Alexandra just said, I'm always in go, go, go mode, that it's rare that I sit back and like, look. That even happens just living in New York. Sometimes I'll be like living here for 3, 4, 5 years, and then I'll start be like, I live in New York City, you know? And so, you know, I think it's great on paper. I've had some really great opportunities on RuPaul's Drag Race and on Broadway, on TV, and those are great things. But the thing that I'm really most proud of is honestly the fact that now we're in this age of accountability. And so I guess I'm proud of the sort of whatever contribution I've been able to make towards contributing towards people sort of looking at how they can contribute in a better way, if that makes any sense. And so that's what I'm most proud of, whether that's my story or me on a video or something I did or something I helped someone else do, whatever. I'm just really happy that we are where we are, because I know that it's so much, it's always crucial for someone somewhere, someone's life is on the line, someone's livelihood is on the line, someone in terms of inability to access something. And so these types of stories, these types of moments that make people think are life-saving in many ways. All of our stories, everyone that's in here in this room, all of the other trans people who aren't in this room, who either are working behind the scenes or in front of the camera, or in some other capacity in any other field, and all of the queer people in general. I think there's just a sensibility that people are starting to understand the concept of intersectionality. And yes, when they do, then we realize that all of our stories affect each other and they all overlap. There is no LGBT community without the Black community. And there is no Black community without the LGBT community. And we can't celebrate Pride without celebrating Black Lives Matter or Black lives. And so if those things aren't intersecting for you, then there's a block, and we have more work to do. And I'm really more interested in how I can understand, like Rafael said, I'm more interested in how we can understand than, you know, that's what I'm interested in.
Absolutely. Brian Michael, I want to talk to you. You know, obviously we're talking about this TV for all, you know, inclusive campaign that Fox is doing. What's your hope for the future? Like, how do we keep this forward direction? How, you know, what are you hoping for?
I don't know. I feel like, you know, me sitting here as a Black trans man, you know, who's holding a position as a series regular on a network TV show is like phenomenal, right? And not only is that, you know, it's a positive representation. The characters of, you know, playing one of the most like heroified, you know, positions in this country. Like, you know, firefighters are revered in this country as, you know, like America's hero. So to put a Black trans person in that position is beyond, you know, significant. And I would like to continue to see that, you know, expansion. And I think it's possible because we have people like Ryan Murphy, who is making sure that these kinds of stories are, you know, being brought into the homes and being normalized in a way. So I want to continue to see that sort of normalization. And then I want to see a little bit more of an expansion and celebration. I want to see, you know, more heroes. And I want to see people who, you know, even though, again, I'm a Black trans man, I'm very proud of what I represent. I'm very, you know, cis presenting and cis passing. So I want to continue to see the representation of people who are non-binary, people who are genderqueer, people of all ages. You know, again, you know, I'm a young Black trans man. I would like to see more, you know, seniors who are of LGBT experience and their stories. And I want to see them as heroes and not just recurring characters or side characters and things like that. I just think that there is like a breadth and a wealth of experience in this community, and it's absolutely intersectional. And we need to explore that more. I want to see more people who, you know, are disabled, who are on the LGBTQ, you know, spectrum. There's stories that I just don't know. And again, continue to allow them to be in these roles that are significant, where we can go on that journey with them for 3 or 4 or 5 years and take that ride and just, again, connect to that humanity and bring that humanity into the homes of people who may not know that they know people, you know, who are trans or who are LGBT. And so the people who feel alone, like I can't help but think of, you know, Tony McDade, who was a Black trans man who, you know, was killed by police, and how alone that he felt, you know, in his struggle beforehand, leading up to that. You know, people feel very alone within the community. And sometimes their only way of safe connection is through what they watch, is through media and these characters. So I feel like it's imperative to continue to bring these fully lived out stories to the forefront. If kids don't see what a gay adult looks like, or what a Black trans adult woman looks like, you know, I want to see a Black trans mother on TV, right? Like, please let people see beyond, you know, just these immediate stories, right? If I knew, you know, as a child that, you know, there are Black trans fathers, I mean, I think I'll be on a different path. So I think there's a lot more power in the stories that, you know, have not been seen yet. And we have to just continue to dig in and show more.
Absolutely. I want to wrap up. Does anyone have any last thoughts or anything that they want to get in as we, you know, look at this Pride, which is a very different one, but I think it's a very exciting one. And it's time that we, you know, all come together more than ever and support each other. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, one last thought. I think one of the, it's very easy to act upon emotion. It's very easy to feel driven when everyone feels the same thing at the same time, because we're all absorbing each other's energies and we're getting it. I think what will sustain the dismantling of this, whatever is in place, you know, because it's very mysterious, you know, systemic racism, but like, how did it actually, like, how in the very specific ways in detail, how does that apply? Like, where don't I see these things and how can I change? I think it is through when all the emotions are gone and there is only rationality. I think that's when we need to be the strongest. That's when we need to push and push and push. That's when the self-education comes in. That's when the choice to actually put yourself in the position where it's not comfortable for you, where it's not convenient, where it's not easy. That's when the growth will start. And that's when you will actually get out of yourself and actually put yourself in the position of others who have lived this, not through one lifetime, 2 lifetimes, but literally centuries. And that's, in my humble opinion, I think that's like that's change. That's change. when you're able to change yourself, even in the slightest way, that's monumental change.
100%. I want to thank all of you so much. This has been such an amazing conversation about inclusion, Black Lives Matter, the future of Hollywood. And I'm so glad that we did get to celebrate some of the amazing successes that all of you have done. So first, Brian Michael Smith, thank you so much. Alexandra Gray, so much fun. So good to see you. Peppermint, thank you as always. Rafael Silva, thank you again. And of course, Alex Schmider, thank you so much for being here. And also a big thank you to Fox. They have donated $50,000 to GLAAD. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't tell you how much that means to us to continue the work that we do every day to fight for acceptance for the LGBTQ community and to make sure that stories about us are being told and being told the right way. So Fox, big thanks and happy Pride, everyone. Stay safe. And until we can all be together, I'll see you soon.